Namo Buddhaya, greetings to us all. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. His Excellency Rector of Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Profesor Dr. Nur Hasan, Vice Rectors of Universitas Negeri Surabaya, keynote speakers, representatives of our partner universities, esteemed participants. My name is Cecilia Putri, and I'm honored to be your MC for the day. On behalf of Universitas Negeri Surabaya, I welcome you to the third International The theme for this year's conference is Sustainable Development Goals in Action, Bridging Policy, Research, and Community Engagement in a We are gathered here today to explore the meaningful solutions to address the urgent challenges that confront our world in achieving the SDGs by 2030. This conference provides a platform for academics, policymakers, and community leaders to come together and engage in valuable discussions. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, let me now give you a brief overview of today's schedule. We will begin with the opening remarks by the Vice Rector of Universitas Negeri Surabaya, followed by the National Anthem performance. After that, we will proceed with a photo session involving all participants in the Zoom meeting. Then we will have our keynote sessions who will share their insights on various aspects on SDGs. After the keynote session, we will provide you with an attendance list. So please stay tuned until the end of the event to complete the attendance list and get your certificate. Then we will move on to the parallel sessions, where the real in-depth discussions will take place. Finally, we will wrap up the day with a closing session. We are excited to have such an esteemed group of experts and scholars with us today, and we look forward to the insightful presentations and discussions ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, we will start today's event by listening to Indonesia's national anthem and UNESA's theme song.
Dalam tempat kamu raih cintamu.
Now, to officially open the conference, please join me in welcoming the Vice Rector of Universitas Negeri Surabaya, Dr. Bambang Sigit Widodo, who will give the opening remarks. Dr. Bambang, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and warm greeting to you all. Distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, respected colleagues, and dear participants, it's with great pleasure and profound gratitude that I welcome you to the third International Conference of SDGs and Bibliometric Studies, ICOSB 2025, held under the theme Sustainable Development Goals in Actions, bridging policy, research, and community engagement in achieving the 2030 Agenda. This year marks the third successful implementation of ICOSB, a platform that continues to grow as a dynamic space for dialogues, innovation, and collaboration in addressing the world's most pressing challenges through the lens of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. We are also proud to share that selected papers from this conference will be published in the A3S Web of Conferences, which is indexed by Scopus, further reinforcing our commitment to scientific excellence in global impact. We are honored to be joined today by an understanding lineup of speakers who are thought leaders in their respective fields. Number one, Professor Muhammad Najib, Director of Higher Education Institutional Affairs at the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology of Indonesia, and a professor at IPB University. Two, Dr. Hiroki Saito, representing Tokyo University of Technology, Japan. Three, Professor Asep Bayudani Nandianto, Professor at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, UPI, and a driving force in science education and technology innovation. Four, Associate Professor Hairun Saleh from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, whose work in educational leadership continues to inspire impactful transformation. And number five, Professor Osman Gultekin, currently serving as the UNESCO Chair on Cultural Diplomacy, Governance and Education, and Professor at Istanbul Leiden University, Turkey. To all our esteemed speakers, thank you for sharing your insights, your time, and your expertise with us today. Your contribution will certainly enrich the discourse and inspire future action toward our shared goals. I would also like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to the Directorate of Innovation, Ranking and Scientific Publication at Universitas Negeri Surabaya, UNESA, for their continued support and dedication in making this event a reality. My sincere thanks also go to the entire organizing committee, the reviewers, session chairs, and most importantly, all the participants, researchers, students, practitioners, and community leaders who have come together from different corners of the world with a shared purpose. Let this conference serve not only as a space for academic exchange, but also as a call to collective responsibility, bridging policy, research, and community actions to advance sustainable development and shape a more inclusive and resilient future. On behalf of Universitas Negeri Surabaya, I officially declare the third ICOSB 2025 open. May this conference be fruitful, inspiring, and full of meaningful collaboration. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Dr. Bambang. Before we move on to our keynote sessions, we will take a brief photo session. So please turn on your camera on Zoom so that we can all capture this special moment. The committee will help us in capturing this special moment. Let us start from the first slide, so please smile. And then the second slide. Please turn on your cameras if you haven't done so. The third slide. Keep smiling. Fourth slide. Fifth slide. And all done. Thank you very much for the all wonderful smiles. And welcome back to the main room. Now let us begin with our first keynote session of the day. We will have Professor Muhammad Najib, the Director of Higher Education Institutional Affairs at the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology of Indonesia, and a professor at the IPB University. And also Dr. Hiroki Saito from the School of Health Sciences, Department of Rehabilitation, majoring in physical therapy from Tokyo University of Technology. To ensure the smooth flow of the session, I would like to kindly invite Mr. Ricky Setiawan to moderate this session. Mr. Ricky, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bu Cecilia, as the Master of Ceremony. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, scholars, and fellow professionals. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, and warm greetings to all of you. Welcome to the third International Conference of SDGs and Bibliometric Studies in 2025, proudly organized by the Directorate of Innovation, Ranking, and Scientific, Universitas Negeri Surabaya. It is an absolute honor for me, Ricky Setiawan, the faculty member in the Faculty of Education, Universitas Negeri Surabaya, to serve as your moderator today for this important and inspiring international conference. Our theme this year, Sustainable Development Goals in Action, Bridging Policy, Research, and Community Engagement in Achieving 2030 Agenda, brings together global minds and meaningful contributions in line with our collective commitment toward a sustainable and inclusive future. This morning, we are privileged to hear from two remarkable keynote speakers, Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib, STV, MM, and Dr. Hiroki Saito, whose contribution has significantly saved their respective fields and who represent the spirit of research-driven action and international collaboration. Each keynote speaker will be given 30 minutes to deliver the presentation and will followed by the Q&A session for 10 minutes. Token of appreciation and summary will be provided at the end of each session. Okay, now we will come to the first keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib, and I would like to greet our first keynote speaker. Hi, Professor Dr. Najib, are you there? Okay, seems that we are still waiting for a while. Okay, so meanwhile we are waiting for Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib to enter the Zoom meeting again, I would like to introduce him briefly for a while. Our first keynote speaker is Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib, STPMM, a distinguished professor at the Department of Management, IPB University, and currently serving as the Director of Higher Education Institutional Affairs at the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology of Indonesia. Professor Najib earned his PhD in Business and Management from the University of Tokyo and has an extensive academic and leadership career, including his previous post as Education and Cultural Attaché at the Indonesian Embassy in Canberra, Australia. He has authored over 50 Scopus indexed publications and several prominent books on international marketing, organic food strategies, and research methodologies. His awards include the 2024 Top Citation Lecturer at IPB University and the 2023 Top 100 Asia Scientists in Marketing by AD Scientific Index. Professor Najib is a passionate advocate of SDGs implementation through education diplomacy, academic partnership, and policy design that enhances institutional impact. Okay, do we already have Professor Najib in the Zoom? Okay, seems that Professor Najib is still trying to enter the Zoom room. We are waiting for a while.
Universitas Negeri Surabaya memiliki 5 kampus yang tersebar di Jawa Timur. Terdapat 3 kampus yang aktif beroperasi untuk kegiatan perkuliahan. Kampus Unesa 1 berada di Jalan Ketintang, Surabaya. Setelah gerbang pintu masuk, di sebelah kiri terdapat Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Politik atau Visipol yang memiliki 15 program studi yang dilengkapi dengan fasilitas inklusif serta program internasionalisasi. Selanjutnya, ada Fakultas Ekonomika dan Bisnis atau FEB yang memiliki 16 program studi yang berfokus pada entrepreneurial leadership dalam model pembelajarannya. Menuju salah satu fakultas termuda di Unesa 1, terdapat Fakultas Hukum yang memiliki 2 program studi dan telah terakreditasi baik secara nasional dan internasional. Selanjutnya masih di kawasan kampus Unesa 1. Selanjutnya adalah salah satu fakultas tertua di Unesa. Terdapat Fakultas Teknik dengan memiliki 17 program studi. Bekerja sama dengan berbagai universitas mancanegara, FT Unesa berfokus dalam keilmuan bidang teknologi dan pendidikan kejuruan dengan berorientasi kewirausahaan. Selanjutnya, terdapat fakultas berbasis Edu-Ekopreneurship, Fakultas Matematika dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Alam atau FMIPA. Memiliki 21 program studi yang telah terakreditasi nasional maupun internasional dengan berfokus pada rekognisi internasional dalam hal riset di bidang ilmu pengetahuan alam. Beranjak pada satu-satunya fakultas dengan fokus ilmu terapan dan pendidikan vokasional, yakni Fakultas Vokasi. Memiliki 13 program studi, mencetak lulusan terapan yang kompeten, inovatif, dan berjiwa kewirausahaan, serta siap bersaing di dunia kerja. Kampus Unesa 2 terletak di Lidah Wetan, Surabaya. Selanjutnya, terdapat Gedung Rektorat Unesa dengan 2 sayap gedung. Gedung pertama adalah Gedung Perpustakaan Unesa, dan selanjutnya Gedung Pusat Layanan dan Pengembangan Teknologi Informasi atau PPTI Unesa dan Biro Akademik Kemahasiswaan Perencanaan dan Kerjasama atau BAKPK Unesa. Belok kanan di jalan utama terdapat Fakultas Kedokteran atau FK Unesa yang memiliki 4 program studi dengan berfokus pada bidang kesehatan olahraga. Selanjutnya adalah Gedung Lembaga Pendidikan dan Sertifikasi Profesi atau LPSP Unesa yang memiliki 4 pusat dan 2 UPT di dalamnya. Beranjak pada salah satu fakultas pionir di Universitas Negeri Surabaya, terdapat Fakultas Ilmu Pendidikan atau FIP Unesa, memiliki 20 program studi yang sebagian besar telah terakreditasi unggul di skala nasional dan lembaga akreditasi internasional. Berada dekat di FIP Unesa, terdapat Fakultas Bahasa dan Seni atau FBS Unesa, memiliki 21 program studi dengan menerapkan pembelajaran secara kreatif berdasarkan kearifan lokal dan berwawasan global. Menuju ke satu-satunya fakultas yang berfokus pada olahraga dan kesehatan, terdapat Fakultas Ilmu Keolahragaan dan Kesehatan atau FIKK Unesa dengan segudang prestasi serta menjadi jujukan para atlet nasional. Memiliki 12 program studi dengan berbasis keilmuan olahraga dan kewirausahaan di bidang sport industry. Fakultas Psikologi Unesa memiliki 2 program studi, berorientasi pada pendidikan dan pengembangan sumber daya manusia. FPSI Unesa juga pecahkan rekor muri terapi butterfly hug yang diikuti lebih dari 600 mahasiswa pada tahun 2024. Sekolah Pasca Sarjana UNESA memiliki 3 program studi dengan tata kelola keilmuan yang multidisiplin, transdisiplin, dan interdisiplin. Kampus UNESA 3 terletak di Jalan Profesor Dr. Mustopo, Surabaya. Terdapat Fakultas Ketahanan Pangan dengan 5 program studi, berfokus mendukung inovasi ketahanan pangan nasional. Menuju salah satu program studi di luar kampus utama PSDKU UNESA Magetan, berada di Jalan Raya Mauspati, Magetan, Jawa Timur. Kampus UNESA 5 memiliki 16 program studi dengan pembelajaran berbasis case-based learning dan project-based learning. Wujudkan impian kalian di sini dan meraih cita-cita bersama UNESA satu langkah di depan.
welcome back to the keynote session. I would like to greet our first keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib, STP, MM. Hi, Professor Najib. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We are so glad to have you here as our first keynote speaker in the third ECOSB 2025. So,
Thank you.
before we start this session, Professor Najib, allow me to introduce you briefly. So, our first keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib, STP, MM, a distinguished professor at the Department of Management, IPB University, and currently serving as the Director of Higher Education Institutional Affairs at the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology of Indonesia. Professor Najib earned his PhD in Business and Management from the University of Tokyo and has an extensive academic and leadership career, including his previous posts as Education and Cultural Attaché at the Indonesian Embassy in Canberra, Australia. He has authored over 50 Scopus Index publications and several prominent books on international marketing and organic food strategies and research methodologies. His awards include the 2024 Top Citation Lecturer at IPB University and the 2023 Top 100 Asia Scientists in Marketing by AD Scientific Index. Professor Najib is a passionate advocate at SDGs implementation through education, diplomacy, academic partnership, and policy design that enhances institutional impact. So please join me in welcoming Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib to deliver his keynote speech. Professor Najib, the next 30 minutes will be yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, moderator. My voice is clear enough?
It's very clear, Professor Najib.
Okay, because I'm here actually outdoor, so I'm looking for the good signal here. The connection is sometimes not stable, so I'm really sorry about that. Okay. Speakers and participants and all the leader of UNESA. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's a really honor for me to be here to share with you. And I want to congratulate for the UNESA for organizing the third international conference on sustainable development goals and Bibliometric successfully today. Actually, the topic of conference is Sustainable Development Goals in Action, bridging policy, research, and community engagement in achieving 2030 agenda. This topic is very important and also timely, as we realize that the deadline of Sustainable Development Goals is 2030, which is less than 5 more years. So this conference can be a momentum for us to reflect how we have achieved our Sustainable Development Goals, especially for me and for academics from Indonesia. This is we can do a kind of self-reflection, how far we have achieved our Sustainable Development Goals in Indonesian context. Ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to share about the role of higher education on Sustainable Development Goals. Allow me to share the slide. Okay. Okay, the slide is clear. You can see the slide.
Yes, Professor, we can see it perfectly.
Okay, thank you. So let me start from the understanding the sustainable development goals in educational context. Yeah, actually, sustainable development goal is a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by 2030. So this is 17 goals. We can see here number 1 to number 17. It's a briefly list or so icons of the 17 interconnected goals. For example, like no poverty. This is the number 1. Zero hunger, quality education, climate action, and so forth. So the question is, why are they crucial for Indonesia? Of course, not only Indonesia, but all developing countries. The first is all the 17 goals is actually addressing the national development challenge, like poverty, inequality, environmental degradation, a lot of issue that we can discuss about this. And in Indonesia also, we are still struggling to solve this problem to achieve the sustainable development goals. The second one's, as a country, this goal actually align with the Indonesian long-term development plans. And of course, because this is part of the global commitment and responsibility. So Indonesia is participate to achieve these 17 goals. And actually, we have started the implementation of SDGs in Indonesia since 2016. SDGs are one of the main instruments in the effort to achieve Indonesia 2045 vision. This is our national vision for 2045. We want to be countries that strength for food and healthy. So we in this period of government, one of our target is food self-sufficiency, food security. And also in the future, we want to be sustainable countries. In 2045, we want to be high-income countries, no hunger, no poverty, and of course, this is not really easy because our situation now, we are part of middle income countries. So the question is how we can go far, exit from the middle income trap, and SDGs become instrument to achieve Indonesian 2045 vision. If we want to be high-income countries, the data show us the difference between low-income countries, middle-income countries, and high-income countries. We can see here the share of highly skilled workers in labor force. For the low-income countries, the share of highly skilled workers less than 10%. And in the middle income countries, around 10 to 40%. But we can see here the green one for high income countries, the share of highly skilled workers more than 40%. So the skilled workers, the key point of skilled workers, how to produce the skilled workers, the education is the answer. So Also, we can see here the data said that for the high-income countries, the difference between high-income countries and upper middle-income countries, we can see in the technology index and also innovation or research capacity. So research, innovation, and technology, it's the keyword, yeah, to become high-income countries. So innovation, research, and also the produce the skilled worker. This is the domain of university, the domain of higher education institution, the domain of education overall. So the education, especially the higher education institution, play a significant role to push the Indonesia to become high income countries. And it means that we can achieve the sustainable development goals in 2030. This is the pillar of sustainable development. We can say that the higher education institution as a pillars of sustainable development. In the university, in higher education institution, they are not just teaching centers. They are also crucial for research, innovation, policy advice, and community development. So in terms of human capital development as foundation of high-income countries, the role of higher education is very clear, yeah, to educate and train the future leaders, yeah, innovators, and workforce capable. That we have to make sure that all the future leaders that we produce in the university, they understand about the sustainable development goals. So they have capacity, they have capability to realize the SDGs in Indonesian context. And also the importance of higher education as a knowledge generation. So with the research and innovation in university, we produce the new knowledge and solution. So as I mentioned before, we are not just as a teaching center, but also research and innovation center. So we produce new knowledge and solution that relevant to SDGs challenge. And university also play a significant role as bridging the gap as a connectors, connecting academic expertise with social need and policy making. And also, this is very important, the role of higher education institution to foster the critical thinking, ethical values, and a sense of global citizenship. By this, we can believe that university can produce the ethical leaders. Yeah. If we look at the data of higher education in Indonesia, actually we have a huge number of higher education. We can see here the total number of higher education institutions is 4,416. Yeah. This number is double compared to China. Higher education institution in China only around 2,400. So Indonesia, we have more higher education institution. But in terms of quality, we can see here the higher education with the excellence accreditation, yeah, with A accreditation, the total's only 161. Yeah. So I don't want to make it on a percentage. Yeah, you can percentage because it's very, very small. So we still struggling how to improve our quality of higher education. So this is actually our homework. We need the good strategy to increase the quality of our higher education institution. And in the SDGs, we know that SDGs number 4, it's specific about the quality education. So the foundation of higher education institution contribution for quality education, the first is ensuring the inclusive and equitable quality education. So this is the first foundation to provide the quality education. We have to make sure that all the universities are open for all background of student, including disability, for student from poor family, student from in Indonesia we call 3T, yeah, for student from remote area. But we have to make sure that we can provide them with the higher education, the qualified higher education. And the second one's lifelong learning opportunities. So the university should promote the continuous learning for all ages. So actually, this is our challenge. Yeah, the university cannot discriminate the student based on the age. Yeah, but actually, for the public universities, for the fresh graduate in public universities, we require the limitation of age. Yeah. But to support the lifelong learning opportunities, actually we need to open our campus. We cannot discriminate the student from any age. Yeah. So we cannot discriminate the student based on age. The third, curriculum development. We need to design the program that are relevant to global and local challenge, including sustainable development goals. The fourth, teachers training. So this is relevant for UNESA actually, as teachers, educators university before. So how to prepare the educators who can instill the SDGs principle in the future generation. And research on education also very important. So we have we have 170 teachers education university, teachers education. So we actually optimistic that the campus like UNESA can provide more qualified teachers, and also the important research on education. If we look at the gross enrollment ratio in higher education, so this is kind of contradictory. Yeah, we have a huge number of higher education institutions, but we still have a problem in gross enrollment ratio in higher education. We can see here the data show us the Indonesia gross enrollment ratio for higher education is 32% on 2024. But we can see here Thailand, Malaysia. We cannot compare with the Singapore with the small population. But if we compare with the Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, Philippines, Brunei, we are below of those countries. So even though we have a huge number of higher education institutions, but it's still we still need more to recruit more students to study in higher education institution to university. And if we check here, look at the data of if we compare for those who study in STEM and non-STEM, and graduate in STEM in Indonesia also very small compared to other countries, lower than other countries. We can see here the graduate in STEM. In Indonesia, it's 18%, but in Vietnam, 23%, Thailand, 27%, India, 30%, and China, we can see here 40%. So if we think about the how to improve our research and innovation, our technological index, of course, we need more graduate from STEM. But here we can see we still struggle to campaign or to educate the young people to study STEM. I have checked in OECD countries. In OECD countries, the graduate from STEM, it's about 30 to 40%. The range, 30 to 40%. We can see like in German, 36%. But in some OECD countries, about 35, 34%. So we need to educate, and of course, the university like UNESA play a significant role to promote the STEM education, to encourage the young people to study STEM, because we need more graduate from STEM. And this is our, as a university, beside the teaching, also we have to do research and innovation. So we can allocate our resources to do research and innovation related to SDGs solution. So higher education can conduct the research directly addressing the SDGs targets, for example, like renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, public health, poverty alleviation. And in our ministries, we have what we call as mandatory research. So we give a mandate to some universities to do some specific research agenda. For example, like we give mandate to ITS to do research about the renewable energy. We give mandate to IPB University to do research about the sustainable agriculture. We give mandate to UNAIR to do research about the public health and so forth. So this is our effort to solve the problem. And also by research and innovation, we hope we can have technological advancement. So we can develop innovative technologies and practices for sustainable development. And also, we have to foster collaboration across discipline to tackle complex SDGs issues, because we cannot solve SDGs issue by only one prodi, one study program, only one field. Yeah, we need to collaborate any disciplines. If we check in the Scopus article, yeah, Scopus Index article, the researcher in Indonesia who study about the sustainable development goals in Indonesia, we can see here the trend actually increased until 2024. But yeah, this is because maybe 2025 is still ongoing. So the awareness of scholars to SDGs actually increased. Yeah, and we can see here the University Airlangga is number one. Yeah, so a lot of lecturer and researchers in University of Airlangga, they do research about SDGs. And also University of Indonesia number second, and BRIN number 3, and IPB University number 4. Okay, the next we have what we call as Tridharma. Yeah. So we as a university not only responsible for teaching and research, but also responsible for community services. So every lecturer, we have almost 300,000 lecturers. If they do community services, if they do community engagement and solve the problem at the level of grassroots, at the level of society, of course, it will give the huge impact. So we understand, yeah, we have limitation, but the spirit to serve the society should be yeah, exist in every lecture and also student. So that's why we need to integrate the SDGs, yeah, into academic curricula. So it doesn't mean we should have a study program of SDGs, or we should have credit on SDGs. Yeah, but the most important thing is how to make it become a mainstream. Yeah. So the student, lecture, and all academics member, they aware about the sustainability agenda. So to do that, we need to build capacity, yeah, especially for the future leader. Yeah, it means that we need to build the capacity for young researchers, for students, yeah, to be more aware with the sustainable development goals agenda. So as a university, we need to prepare graduate across all fields to be agent of change for sustainable development. And also we can do kind of professional development for young researchers, yeah, young yeah, executive, for the fresh graduate, offering short courses, workshop, and certification for professional. Yeah, so this is it's very important. Yeah, and also government and industry training. So we can collaborate with the public and private sectors to train their personnel to understand more on SDG implementation. Because we realize that not all of the government staff, not all of industrial workers or CAO, they aware about the SDGs agenda. For those who aware with the SDGs agenda, most of them they don't understand how to implement the SDGs agenda, so they don't involve with the SDGs agenda. So we need to communicate with the government and industry. We need to train them, and also for the faculty development. This is the most important in university. For all the staff, they need to understand about the SDGs. They need to understand how to implement the SDGs in the context of research and also in the context of innovation. This is one of the important agenda, how to foster partnership for collective impact. So we encourage the multi-stakeholders approach because we understand that higher education institution cannot achieve SDGs alone. They need to collaborate with all stakeholders, with industry, with the government, with the NGOs. And for government, of course, we need the science-based policy, evidence-based policy that we can implement, to achieve the SDGs as a national agenda. And in the industry, private sectors, civil society organization, even international organization, we can because we have the same challenge. For example, like climate change, poverty reduction, we have the same challenge. So if we can do a global research network, and we can find the funding opportunities together, and also we can do knowledge exchange, if we can collaborate with the global researchers. So the next, how we navigate challenge and embracing opportunities. We can see here our challenge, as an institution, as a higher education institution, as a university or as a researchers. The first, I think this is the common challenge, and all of you agree with this funding limitation. I visit many universities, discuss with the researchers, with the lecturer. They say the same word, funding limitation. So we feel that we have insufficient resources to do SDGs research. Of course, this is a common problem, but as researchers, as lecturers, we have to find a solution. Another challenge is lack of awareness. This is fundamental. Even though we have enough funding, we have enough resources, if we don't have awareness, we cannot do anything. The third is data gap. Sometimes it's difficult in collecting granular data to measure SDG impact. And policy implementation, how to translate the national SDGs policies into actionable university strategies. So luckily, in IPB University, we have IPB SDG centers, and we connect with the Bapenas. So we have intensive discussion with the Bapenas how to translate the national SDGs policy into the actionable universities strategies. And also our challenge is the ego of discipline, yeah. So interdisciplinary barrier. This is a common problem also in many universities, many researchers, yeah. But we have opportunities actually besides challenges. Now,
Yeah, we have 2 minutes left
yeah.
for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Growing national commitment to SDGs. So our government now have more commitment to SDGs. Yeah, opportunity to international collaboration, youth engagement, and technological advancement. So, yeah, I think we want to show you the this is how to measure the role of universities, yeah, to SDGs. One of the indicators is Times Higher Education Impact Ranking. We can see here in terms of this is 2024, yeah. University of Indonesia is number one in Indonesia. It's ranked 31 in the world, yeah. We can see here University of Indonesia is number one in no poverty, yeah, rank 4 here. But University Airlangga, we can see here's number one for the first agenda of SDGs, no poverty, yeah. Also, University of Indonesia is number 6 for zero hunger, yeah. We can see here, and so forth. You can check the data here. This is a kind of achievement of some universities in Indonesia. And this is the data for 2025. The University Airlangga achieved the number one in Southeast Asia for the SDGs implementation. Yeah, so this is number one in Southeast Asia, number 9 in the world, yeah, and number 2 in Asia. And the last, this is IPB University. In 2025, they received the outstanding contribution to regional development from Times Higher Education. So this is reflect that how the university play a significant role on SDGs achievement. Okay, thank you so much for your attention. Assalamualaikum. Very good morning.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib, for sharing these valuable perspectives. So we are grateful for the inspiring insights. As we continue with this session, we invite all participants to engage actively through the Q&A session. But due to the time limitation, we will open only to one single questions. So for the participants, you may type your questions directly in the chat box, or you may also ask directly by raising your hand. And please kindly mention your name and institution before delivering your questions. Okay, do we have any questions in the chat box? Okay, we have one here from ITB, is Gamma Harta. The question to Professor Najib is how to promote STEAM and increase GER. Okay, Professor.
Actually, it's not easy to answer this, and yeah, of course, I need your idea actually. Because we need 20 or 30 years ago, many students want to study STEM because we had prominent figures. We had Habibie, for example, as a prominent figure. So it encourage all the students to study hard to become IPA members in physics or biology classes. But now, actually, maybe we have a figure, but not in the social media era. It's not not as famous as YouTuber, for example, not as famous as Celebgram. So I think, we need to give the opportunity for prominent figure in STEM to exist. So young generation. And of course, we need to communicate more to young generation and to to make STEM education more attractive to young generation. So we need UNESA, we need you how to to solve this problem actually. Long time ago we have if you know like lomba karya ilmiah remaja for young scientists but the competition like that is not really exist now. So this is kind of maybe can motivate the young people to interest with the STEM. And for gross enrollment ratio, government have intervention with scholarship, what we call as KIP kuliah. But we still need more actually. So now we invite the company, we invite the industry, we invite the local government to provide more scholarship to our student, so we can increase the number of scholarship, and we hope it can increase the enrollment ratio. And of course, we need to collaborate more with all universities to open their campus for the background of any background of student, especially from poor family background student. So with the collaboration between university, industry, and government, we are sure we can increase the gross enrollment ratio for higher education. But if you have any idea, please let me know. Because this is important, how to promote STEM to young people and how to increase the number of enrollment ratio. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you have idea, so we can consider if it's applicable. Of course, we are really happy to implement this idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor, for your answer, and I do agree very much with your answer. Here we have the second questions from Hapsari Penny Unesa. Professor, do we continue with the second question? Okay, so the second question comes from Hapsari Penny Unesa. In what ways can governments better integrate SDG indicators into national and regional development plans?
Actually, we have key performance indicators for every ministry. And also we have key performance indicators for local government. And also we have key performance indicators for universities, especially for the public universities. In these key performance indicators, we can put the SDGs issue. And now, not only government, but also state-owned enterprise. Yeah. So sustainable action in every state-owned enterprise. So we can put the agenda of SDGs to every state-owned enterprise. So we can integrate SDGs indicators into national and regional development plan, of course. And why don't our government establish a strategy prioritizing STEM as a national priority? Yeah, actually, it's not really easy. Not really easy because the social trend, we know there is a kind of image that in young people that study STEM is really hard. So this is actually our challenges. The educators should solve this problem. How to promote that STEM is beautiful. So we need to study STEM more. And we cannot, actually in our RPJMN, we put the STEM as kind of a priority. We encourage the number of study program on STEM to increase. So we give the incentive to universities, especially for the private universities, because we have a huge number of private universities. We provide incentive to them if they can maintain and can develop the study program related to STEM. And we do a kind of moratorium for private universities if they want to open the study program not related to STEM. So this is kind of instrument that we have, to prioritizing the STEM. But we still need more, because if we for example, if we open the study program of STEM, we give them incentive to improve their capacity, to increase their capability. And we provide them, for example, like laboratoriums. But if the interest of young people to study STEM is not exist, so how to maintain the study program of STEM? So the basic, one is how to encourage the young people to study STEM. And this is, of course, we need to invite the participation of all the academic and also all sectors, also the industry, of course. We invite them to promote the STEM to the young people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to our keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib, for your thoughtful answers, and also to all our participants for the engaging questions. So before we close this session with Professor Najib, allow me to briefly summarize the highlights from your remarkable keynote speech. So our first keynote speaker, Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib, delivered a comprehensive presentation titled "The Role of Indonesian Higher Education in Achieving SDGs," and in his capacity as the Director of Institutional Affairs at the Ministry of Higher Education, he outlined the strategic position of higher education institutions as central pillars in advancing the SDG agenda. Professor Najib emphasized that achieving Indonesia's 2045 vision and avoiding the middle income trap requires a robust commitment to research, innovation, and human capital development. He highlighted how universities must not only educate but also serve as drivers of knowledge creation, ethical leadership, policy formulation, and direct community engagement. His presentation covered the many ways how higher education institutions contribute to SDG 4, quality education, through curriculum reform, lifelong learning, and improved teacher training. He also addressed the critical role of interdisciplinary research, the commercialization of innovations, and student involvement in community empowerment projects. And Professor Najib called for stronger collaboration between academia, government, industry, and international networks to amplify the impact of higher education institutions. He concluded by underlining the importance of tracking and reporting university contributions to SDGs through global benchmarks like the Times Higher Education Impact Rankings. So it was a powerful reminder that higher education must lead not only with knowledge, but also with measurable impact, inclusivity, and a global perspective. Once again, thank you very much, Professor Najib, and the committee would like to award an e-certificate to Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib as a token of appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you for moderators, for committee, and also all the participants this morning.
Thank you very much, Professor Najib, and we would like to see you in the next agenda and in the next session. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, all participants, now we'll move to the second keynote speaker. Here we have Dr. Hiroki Saito. I would like to greet our second keynote speaker. Hi, Dr. Hiroki Saito. Good morning from Indonesia.
Good morning. Good morning.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so before we start our second keynote session, allow me to introduce briefly our second keynote speakers, Dr. Hiroki Saito, Assistant Professor at the Department of Physical Therapy and also Vice Director of the Center for Human Movement at Tokyo University of Technology. Dr. Saito holds a PhD from the University of Tokyo and a Master's in Clinical Physiotherapy from Curtin University, Australia. He is a renowned expert in musculoskeletal and sports physiotherapy with over 13 years of experience, including collaboration with professional athletes. His scientific contributions span a wide array of innovative studies in muscle synergy, sports rehabilitation, and evidence-based physiotherapy education. Dr. Saito's pioneering work in motor control impairments and injury prevention has received international attention and research fundings. He has published prolifically in high-impact journals, advancing our understanding of biomechanics and clinical therapies for spinal cord and movement disorders. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Hiroki Saito as he delivers his keynote speech. And Dr. Saito, the next 30 minutes will be yours. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will share my slide. Okay. Oops. Is this clear?
Yes, we can see it clearly. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Professor.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm Hiroki Saito from Japan. As they introduced, I got a master from Australia when I like 10 years ago, and when I was living in Australia in Perth, I actually visited Indonesia in Bali, and with my girlfriend, and I got engaged in Bali. So the Indonesia is kind of like a special place for me. So probably the next year, I hope to actually visit the Indonesia to visit the Indonesia to present the conference. So as I say, my name is Hiroki Saito. I'm a senior lecturer now in the Department of the Physical Therapy at the Tokyo University of Technology. So I have been working as a physical therapist for over 10 years with a specialization in orthopedic and sports rehabilitation. So my research is largely motivated by challenges I have encountered in the clinical practice. And also, as an institution of the higher education, university have a responsibility to contribute to the advancement of the local communities and economy and the global society by sharing the knowledge and technology developed through education and research activity in the university. So today I'd like to share how our research team is contributing to the society through the research, specifically by enhancing the human movement health through the integration of the advanced motion capture system and artificial intelligence. So although my presentation will include some research-focused and technical terms, but I will do my best to explain everything as clear as possible. So our daily life are made up with various movements, standing, walking, running, and jumping. So these movements are closely tied human activities and social participation, such as shopping, traveling, and enjoying sports. When people experience diseases or injuries, what they often struggle with is not illness or injury itself, but the limitation it places on these activities. So as a rehabilitation professionals, our role is to provide intervention and support to help patients regain their physical function and their joy of returning to their daily life activities. So in today's talk, I will represent three main points. So first, I will discuss or introduce injury or diseases that impact our human movement health. So next, I will share the current approach in rehabilitation and highlight what is missing. And finally, I will explain how advanced motion capture system with the integration of the artificial intelligence can be used to precisely identify the factor affecting movement health with the goal of enhancing the effectiveness of the rehabilitation. So what happens when people suffer diseases? So for example, this is a case of the stroke. So annually, it has been said that 15 million people suffer stroke, leading to the substantial mortality and long-term disabilities. So this statistic highlights the urgent need for the effective rehabilitation strategies. So as you can see in this video, people from stroke significantly impact walking abilities. So this impairment is often due to the abnormal muscle activation patterns or muscle spasticity caused by lack of reciprocal inhibition from the brain that optimize muscle tone. So in other words, muscle becomes stiff and reduce the complexity of the movement strategies, meaning the patient cannot adapt to various environments such as uneven surface or walking over the object. So similarly, we have a case women suffering from low back pain. So low back pain is a widespread condition that affects millions of people around the world. And unfortunately, the number of the cases is expected to continue to increasing despite the intensive rehabilitation. So this trend highlights the growing burden of the low back pain placed not only the individuals, but also the healthcare systems. So understanding the underlying cause and the risk factor is essential for developing effective strategy for both prevention and treatment strategies. So in this particular case, the patient demonstrated very stiff and slow movement pattern in the spinal region during the transition from sit to stand. But research has indicated that the excessive activation of the trunk muscle is a potential risk factor for both development and the persistence of the low back pain. So therefore, assessing muscle activation patterns plays a crucial role in addressing low back pain effectively. So this is the final case, the case of the elite athlete suffering from multiple anterior cruciate ligament injuries. This is very common in the footballs. This is happened despite intensive rehabilitation. That's highlight the challenging facing in the sports rehabilitation. So although we do not fully understand why this injury happens and the re-injury occurs, research have been conducted to investigate the posture that may predispose individuals to these injuries. So most likely, these injuries are associated with a deviation, as in the slide, deviation of the knee joint from the optimal positions. So this is the optimal position. So if the knees go into the medial side, this is kind of deviation from the optimal position. So it's, stretch the ligament and perhaps the strain of the ligaments. So therefore, assessing joint biomechanics is essential to identify the risk factor for ACL injuries. So when we assess movement health, there are multiple factors that need to be considered. The slide outlines the several key components that are very critical to human movement, such as motor control, that's including muscle activations, as well as range of motion, that's kind of like a flexibility, and the strength and the biomechanics. So all which can be analyzed by the number of devices and the system. So each of these elements plays an essential role in both optimizing performance and preventing injury. So by evaluating these factors, we can design comprehensive training and rehabilitation programs that address complex and interconnected nature of human movement. So this holistic approach is particularly important for the athlete and individual recovering from injury and diseases. So traditionally, rehabilitation usually it works, but outcome can vary greatly from person to person. So while some individuals achieve full recovery, like close to 100%, which we usually hope, but the other experience only partial improvement, limited progress, or even re-injury. So these differences are likely influenced by several factors, including extent of the injury or diseases, or patient motivation and level of engagement in the rehabilitation process. However, we also assume that limited use of motion capture technology in the clinical practice may negatively affect the quality of the rehabilitation that contribute to the suboptimal outcome in some cases. So without objective data-driven assessment too, it can be difficult to precisely identify the cause of the dysfunction or monitor the progress effectively. So although the importance of assessing factors such as muscle activation, biomechanics, strength, and flexibility in evaluating the movement health is very well recognized in the research area. Unfortunately, many clinics and hospitals still face significant limitation in the space and the resources. So as a result, advanced motion capture systems are rarely used in everyday clinical practice. So as shown in the slide, instead we, movement assessment, such as gait analysis, we often see, what happens when people, walk, and then see what's problem up there. So, but this can be often conducted through the visual inspection or observation alone without support of technologies. So this has been a long-standing challenge in the field of rehabilitation, but nothing has changed so far. So on the right side, this is Kamato Station, where our university is located in the center of the Tokyo. This is surrounded by the numerous clinics in the hospital, as you can see in this map. While these clinics are very, very accessible because it's like very close, like 5 minutes walk from the station. They are typically very small. So due to the space and like a budget constraint and manpower resources, whatever, it's difficult for them to install, large scale motion capture system to assess movement health, even though, such technology is essential, So this situation is, I guess, not unique to Tokyo, but, it's common across Japan. And I believe similar limitations exist in other countries as well, including Indonesia, I guess. So to address this issue, we established a research center called Human Movement Center at my university. Our mission is enhance physical performance by integrating motion capture system with artificial intelligence, ultimately promoting healthier and more richer human activities. So to expand access, we actually form partnership or alliance with the hospital, clinic, and sports gym, or even individual athletes who typically have a limited access to advanced motion capture system. So through this collaboration, patient and athlete can visit the university or actually our center for detailed assessment using our motion capture technology. So typically people come to a center because they did not respond well to rehabilitation in the standard clinical setting. So then we conduct comprehensive movement assessment to identify underlying issues, and in some cases, we recommend personalized exercise program based on the data we assess. And in addition, in our center, clinical physiotherapist, myself, and the engineer work closely together to accurately identify the cause of the movement problem. So as a clinician myself, I found this collaboration is essential because analyzing motion data require extensive technical expertise, while clinicians bring physiological insight need to be interpret the data clinically meaningfully. So together, this interdisciplinary approach leads to the deeper understanding or more effective rehabilitation solution. So this is our facilities. It is prepared with like advanced technology to comprehensively capture human movement health. So we use 3-dimensional motion capture system, like here, with a force plate to analyze a joint position, joint angle, joint torque. And we also have a EMG sensor to assess neurophysiological aspect of the human movement health. And we also have an isokinetic system to assess individual muscle strengths. So next, we will present how exactly this center works. So this is a real case scenario. The male gymnast underwent knee surgery approximately 1.5 years ago. Although he continued the rehabilitation consistently in his hospital, his returning sports was significantly delayed. So the surgeon, actually he is my friend, who performed the surgery, asked us to conduct a detailed movement analysis using wearable motion capture system. So our goal was to identify any remaining biomechanical or neuromechanical barrier that might be limiting his performance or increasing the risk of the injury. So through this approach, we detect asymmetry or compensatory movement patterns that are not apparent through the standard clinical observation alone in his clinic. So our approach is essential in defining his rehabilitation program and safeguarding his return to high-level athletic performance. So this is a part of his movement assessment in our facility. So as you can see, he actually have a left side knee problem. So when he jump, as you can see this below, when he jump and land, he has a obvious knee dysfunction that limit improper landing and jumping mechanics. So this is the jumping task that we usually use in common clinical practice to assess, elastic ability to engage jumping. Jumping is a very fundamental movement that reflect any diverse human movement or sports activities. So when we then place sensor across his body to analyze what was happening during his movement. So as shown on the left side, these sensors provide real-time calculation of the joint angle, of the hip, knee, and ankle, which are all essential for performing effective jump. So this system is very attractive because, as I said, this can be calculated in real time. So patient and clinician myself can actually see that what's happening in his joint while he is performing some task. So when we interpret data, we focus on assessing functional movement and performance, as these elements provide a foundation for the sports-specific skills. That's clearly illustrated in the slide. Optimal sports skill are supported by solid foundational functional movement and strong physical performance. So, however, when functional movement is compromised or weakened, as shown on the right side, athletic performance become very unstable, so increasing the risk of injury or re-injury. Thus, identifying and correcting the issue in the fundamental movement pattern is critical for both improving athletic performance and the safe returning athletic to their sports. So that's why we target functional movement. So surprisingly, we ultimately identified a decline in knee performance was actually caused by hip dysfunction. Since the human body operates highly complex and interconnected system, the site of the pain injury, such as knee in this case, is actually often a victim, while the actual source of the problem may lie elsewhere, such as hip. So this concept known as a regional interdependence. So this idea that impairment is one area of the body can influence the function of the distinct region. So the knee is actually a problem, but actually it's coming from the dysfunction of the hip. So we are able to uncover this relationship because we place sensor not only the injury side of the knee, but also trunk, hip, and ankle across the body. So this whole body approach allows us to identify true source of the dysfunction and something that we might be overlooked if we have focused on only symptomatic area, which is the knee. So as you can see in this video, on the right side, I performed like a specific hip exercising with aesthetic for the improving hip function. So usually we do not see in the clinical placement because we usually focus on knee problem, and so we actually improving the knee range of motion, knee flexibility, knee strength. But because we identify the hip problem, I actually provide exercising for the hip to improving the knee function. So following the intervention, we observed improvement in his hip function with approximately 2 months, which were also associated with improvement in knee performance. So on the left side graph, you can see increasing in both hip and the knee joint angle over time during vertical jump that they perform. So data from February 2025 is shown in blue, and March in yellow, and April in green. So if the y-axis is the volume of the joint angle, so if it's increasing, it actually goes up. So it's indicating from February to April, there is a gradual improvement across months. Not only the hip, but also the knee joint. So actually, if the hip joint angle is improving, actually knee joint where the surgery happened, it's actually improving. So it's very connected. So as you can see in this picture, this demonstrates noticeable significant improvement in the athletic landing and jumping mechanics after our intervention. So that reflects the positive change in the joint function and movement control. So we also observed the improvement in the clinical outcome for the athlete following the intervention, which is essential for ensuring successful return to play sports. So on the right side, before and after, as you can see, that there is an improvement in subjective knee function we call IKDC questionnaire completed by the athlete. On the right side, this RS score reflects increasing psychological readiness to return to sports. So this highlights the importance of tailored rehabilitation strategy that take into account individual specific need and the circumstance to physically and mentally readiness for the return to sports. So this is like a second example from our center project that involved data provided from the elite of the football player in Japan. So as you know, the football in Japan is very popular. I guess Indonesia is huge, popular, getting very, very popular too. So in the elite of soccer player or football player, the hamstrings injury is a huge problem because once athlete get this injury, patient usually off from the sports activity, like up to like 6 months or sometimes a year. So this is a significant problem. So coaches and team usually try to identify, the risk factor, to prevent this kind of severe injury. So in this study, we aim to use the pre-season data before the upcoming season to predict the injury that might occur during the upcoming season. So finally, our analysis revealed that player with lower sprint volume during the preseason were significantly high risk of the sustaining hamstring injury later in the season. Specifically, the risk of this injury increased by approximately about 1.2 to 1.3 times for those with reduced sprint exposure. So it means that when we assess the athlete, the volume of the sprint in the preseason, we can actually forecast or predict the injury. So that's why we can, provide some method or intervention in the preseason to prevent in the in-season hamstrings injury. This is a kind of fascinating, attractive way to, prevent this kind of injuries. So we are now currently working to identify the underlying mechanism of the hamstrings injury using a machine learning technique. As you know, the machine learning it's recently developed, hugely developed. This is like a powerful tool that can automatically uncover the causal relationship between multiple variables, even when using the cross-sectional data. So through this approach, we identify 4 key variables that directly contribute to the hamstrings injury. This includes like a hip range of motion. So this is we assess hip internal range of motion. This is kind of like a hip flexibilities. And FFPD also this kind of like a flexibility of the lumbar region, spinal regions, and also the number of the sprint and also weight. In addition, we found that several other variables, something like this is indirectly influence these direct causal factors. So this data-driven approach enables us to develop more targeted and effective injury prevention strategy to ensure the athletes are better prepared for the physical demand of their sports and reduce the risk of hamstring injury. So traditionally, as a physical therapist, we analyze the data and we think this might be physiologically plausible, and we intervene with potential factor that might affect the injury prevention. But machine learning automatically tells us that what's kind of a factor that we need to target. This is a very good analysis. So the development of the artificial intelligence, the future physical therapy or physiotherapy likely lies in the AI-enriched decision making, which can significantly improve rehabilitation outcome. So as we have already highlighted, there are numerous variables relating to the human health, which usually, overwhelming sometimes. And in a clinical practice, we often face challenges when it comes to the analysis, integrating this complex data. But as I said, AI can assist by processing large data set and uncover highly plausible cause of the symptom, or sometimes, they found surprising fact that may be difficult for human to detect. So this does not mean that AI will replace human clinicians in the decision-making process, but rather, I guess, it means that we can, collaborate with AI to support and faster and more effective clinical decision-making, whether it's in diagnosis or identify function risk factors or recommended personal interventions. So finally, I'd like to introduce the member of our centers, and we look forward to the opportunity to collaborate with your institutions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Hiroki Saito, for your thought-provoking presentation. We are very grateful for these inspiring insights. As we continue again with this session, we invite one more time all participants to engage actively through this Q&A session. And again, due to the time limitation, we'll open to only one single question. So for the participants joining online, you may type your questions in the chat box, or you may ask directly by raising your hand. And again, please kindly mention your name and institutions before delivering your questions. Okay, seems like there's no questions from the Zoom. Allow me, Dr. Hiroki Saito, to ask you my question.
Yep.
Okay, Dr. Saito, your presentation showcased how AI and also motion capture technologies are transforming rehabilitation and movement science. So as these technologies advance, what do we see as the biggest challenge in integrating them into routine clinical practice, particularly in public healthcare settings and also in developing countries? Thank you, Dr. Saito.
Yeah, thank you for the question. As I said, we have so many diseases that difficult to treat. So even though the advancement of medical technologies, we have surgery or prescriptions, still they usually suffer disability, like they cannot walk properly and they get injury again. So even though the rehabilitation, we provide rehabilitation, there are some patients who have still difficult to walk. So with the advanced technology such as like a motion capture system to precisely what's going on, and then provide some more effective approaches to actually facilitate effectiveness of the rehabilitation. And specifically, my university is located in the center of Tokyo, which actually like 20 minutes from the Haneda airport. It's like an international airport. So we actually aim to invite all the patients, all the athletes coming from the not only in Japan, from the Indonesia too, or some other countries to come to our center and to see to what's happened, what's happened their problem. Because in a developing country, for example, they have usually limited access to the advanced technology. So that's why we are offering many patients, many athletes coming to our university, to offer some insight into the what's problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Hiroki Saito, for your answer. And before we close this session with you, allow me to briefly summarize the highlights from your keynote speech. So our keynote speaker, Dr. Hiroki Saito, presented an insightful session titled Enhancing Human Movement Health Through Advanced Motion Capture Systems and AI. He highlighted the global impact of movement disorders such as stroke and low back pain and addressed the limitations of conventional rehabilitation. Dr. Saito introduced the innovative work of the Center for Human Movements at Tokyo University of Technology, where motion capture technology and artificial intelligence are used to analyze human movement with high precision. He shared compelling case studies showing how this approach can personalize rehabilitation, improve outcomes, and even predict sports injuries before they occur. His presentation emphasized how integrating technology into clinical practice can transform physiotherapy from reactive treatment to proactive, data-driven care. It was a compelling vision for the future of rehabilitation science. So, Dr. Hiroki Saito, the committee would like to award you an e-certificate as a token of appreciation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you
Hiroki
very
Saito.
much. Arigato.
And
Arigato.
arigato gozaimasu, and we would like to see you again in the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
So,
much.
ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of this session, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to our two distinguished keynote speakers, Professor Dr. Muhammad Najib and also Dr. Hiroki Saito, from their insightful and thought-provoking presentations. So today's session reminded us that the advancement of sustainable development goals depends on meaningful research, strong institutions, and global collaborations. Together, both speakers have reminded us that the intersection of research, technology, and collaboration is where real progress towards sustainable and inclusive development begins. Thank you also to all participants for your active engagement and thoughtful attention throughout this session. Let us carry today's knowledge forward build stronger economic networks, and continue shaping a better future through education and innovation. Stay inspired, stay connected, and see you in the next session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And I would like to give the time back to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you to Mr. Riki Setiawan for moderating the first keynote session. We are now about to begin our second keynote session. It is my pleasure to introduce the moderator who will guide us through the session, Ms. Desika Putri Mardiani. Ms. Desika will manage the flow of the session by Associate Professor Hairon Saleh from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, and also Professor Asep Bayudani Nandianto from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. Ms. Desika, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, esteemed guests, respected colleagues, fellow academics, and also all participants from all over the world. It is a great to welcome you with greetings. Welcome to the second plenary session of ICOSB 2025. I am truly honored to be your moderator for this session. My name is Desika Putri Mardiani, and I am super excited to accompany you through this insightful discussion with theme Sustainable Development Goals in Action, Bridging Policy, Research and Community Engagement in Achieving the 2030 Agenda. All right, in this session, we will have two speakers, ladies and gentlemen, and each speaker will deliver the materials in 30 minutes, and after that, it will be followed by Q&A session. All right, please welcome our first keynote speaker from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. Hello, Associate Professor Hairon Saleh.
Hello, hello.
Have you joined us?
Hello, good morning.
Hi,
Can you
good
hear
morning.
me?
Yeah, we can hear your voice. Hello.
Hello, hello.
All right. Okay. Allow me to introduce our keynote speaker. Associate Professor Hairon Saleh is coming from Policy, Curriculum and Leadership Studies, National Institute of Education, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. He received his PhD from the University of Bath and MA in School Effectiveness and School Improvement from the University College London Institute of Education. He teaches graduate and in-service courses on teacher and leadership education and preparation. His research focuses on school leadership for teaching, for teacher learning in communities comprising distributed leadership, teacher leadership, professional learning community, teacher professional development, and action research. All right, today our keynote speaker will deliver a talk on leadership in education for sustainable development. All right, Professor Hairon Saleh, are you ready for your time?
Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you.
All right,
Let me try to show my slides now. Let me share my
okay.
slides.
Okay, your time, it will be 30 minutes around, and now the screen is yours.
Thank you. Let me know once you can see the screen, please.
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you for the kind invitation, and it's good to see our neighbor. And we are very close. Okay, the title for my sharing this morning is Leadership and Education for Sustainable Development. Just a short introduction from myself. And I was listening to that Dr. Saito sharing about, physical, to me, it's physical education rather. It reminded me of me being myself. I was a teacher. I first started my career as a teacher and in physical education, actually. Yeah. So I've been in NIE since 2002. NIE, the National Institute of Education, is the only teacher education institute in Singapore. So we provide initial teacher preparation for all Singapore teachers and also in-service training and development for our teachers and also our leaders, whether they are middle managers or senior leaders or even teacher leaders. Just to give a quick brief about myself. Okay, but before I touch on this, okay, let me show the next slide. Let me know if the slide is working. So, yeah. Can you see my second slide? Yes? Moderator?
Yes.
Okay, so my talk today is basically very focused on leadership matters. I'm not talking about leadership matters and leadership topics, all that, but leadership makes a difference in the success of education for sustainable development. So being an educator myself in schools before and also at Nanyang Technological University, okay, NIE, or National Institute of Education, is an institute within the Nanyang Technological University. So it's an institute within an institute. So we are very actively involved in promoting sustainable development and all that, including NIE. So naturally, I'll talk about leadership, which is my specialized area, and also in the context of education for sustainable development. But before I go deep into the idea of leadership itself, I just want to give a bit of brief background about the country of Singapore. I know some of you are very familiar with it, but I cannot but emphasize again and again that Singapore is just a small island, high-income city. Okay, it's a very small island. If you look at the land size, it's really very small. Some of you who have been to Singapore, I know some of you like to go to Singapore to shop and all that, right? And certain places are quite cheap to shop. You know that it's just like about 30 minutes drive, north-south, and 45 minutes drive east-west. And we are multicultural in that sense. I'm giving this basic fact simply because context matters. Context matters to leaders and how we lead how we lead the nation towards the sustainable development goals, and how schools are able to integrate some of these sustainable development goals into our curriculum itself. Okay, the advantage of a small nation is that we are nimble, we can get things fast, we are able to twist and turn in a very quick way, and also it's easy to monitor. So if you look at Singapore, if you want to learn anything from Singapore, take it as a district, not even a province, just a district, one district within a province, and that would help understand why we are the way we are. Okay, a small island also makes us a bit more vulnerable, and it causes us to be very, very concerned with the use of resources in our country. In other words, we try not to waste too much in terms of our resources, in terms of human resources, which actually constitute the largest aspect of the wealth of the nation. Actually, the human capital is the largest in a sense, besides your natural resources like oil or agriculture and all that. Okay, so that's my initial background of Singapore in a sense. So when you look at education itself, there's only about 300 over schools in Singapore, very small, right? Indonesia would have a lot, I think. In other countries also a lot more. So we have we have this tier system of preschool and then primary school, secondary school, and from the secondary school, they will go to pre-universities, whether it be junior colleges or centralized institution or polytechnics. And eventually to the university, and from the university, they go to their work, to the industries for work. Okay, so altogether there's about 177 primary school, 132 secondary school, 11 junior colleges, 5 polytechnics, 2 Institute of Technical Education, and 6 autonomous universities. Okay, so autonomous universities means that we are not private universities. We're funded by the government, but we are given the autonomy to run the way we run, but in consultation with the taking into consideration the national priorities and national policies also. So Nanyang Technological University is one of the 6 autonomous universities, and NIE is just one of the school or an institute within NTU. Okay, let's move on. So being a small country in Singapore, the nature of our education system is that we are a mixture, we are hybrid, in a way. Some scholars coin us as a decentralized, centralized education system. So it is decentralized, but within a centralized education system, whereby the Ministry of Education provide the broad policies for schools to work towards, to work within those framework, and at the same time, schools have a lot of autonomy to do what they want to do, but within the scope of the policy. Okay, so this idea of centralized, decentralized is a unique thing, and we think it's quite successful because we require both, you see. It is important for schools to have that autonomy, to be given that autonomy, even universities for that matter, to be given that autonomy to innovate, but not innovate to go wherever you want to go, but for the national interest, okay, to serve the interest of the nation. So for the last, since independence 1965, we are still a young nation. This is the 60th year. We're only 60 years old as a nation. We go through certain policy initiatives, which started from 1959, which is survival-driven education, whereby the focus is on providing basic education and solving unemployment. Okay, we don't have natural resources, and therefore we need to bring in foreign direct investment and foreign companies to come to Singapore, and then we need to develop our human capital, human skills. And then from 1979 onwards, it's emphasis on cost-effective resource management. We call it efficiency-driven education. It's not no longer we are surviving. In fact, when you look at all these phases, right, they build onto one another. They build up together in a sense. We are still surviving because we don't have natural resources, and we're still efficient. When we say efficient here, it's really talking about how can we make good use of resources into education to optimize the learning outcomes of our students. Okay, and then from 2000 onwards is really about ability-driven education, whereby we start to identify, yes, we need very large skills, these broad skills, but then we realize that we also need to look at individual students instead of looking at them as groups, or cohorts. We need to look at that individual student's ability. So that's why, okay, sorry, there's a typo there, 2012 to present. It's not present in that sense. My apologies for this. So as ability driven, and then after that, student-centric, That is when it's 2012 actually. From 1996 onwards is ability driven. Okay, from 2012 is student centric, where we begin to look at students and we think about the holistic development of the child. And we begin to look at values. No longer we look at skills only in terms of what they do to economy, but we also need to look at the importance of values. And the reason is, I think, quite understandable, because in a world that is getting more complex and more challenging, values is something that will hold us together. Okay, the reason why I'm saying this again about the idea of our education system is decentralized within a centralized system, and the emphasis in each of these phases reflects what we consider to be sustainable, what we want to be sustainable, not just in economy, but also in social, in cultural, and also the individual child in a sense. Okay. Let's go on to, let me give you a brief summary of what Singapore has done in terms of SDG frameworks, okay? So you look at Singapore Green, these are the 4 main frames. The Singapore Green Plan 2030, voluntary national reviews, whole of government approach, and data tracking. Okay, so I need to, again, if you look at this, it is reflective of our small island, high-income city-state, right? Singapore is a city, and therefore the need for more green plants. I think we are very thankful to our first Prime Minister of modern Singapore, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. His idea was to plant trees. And until today, if you come to Singapore, you can see lots of trees. Until today, we are still maintaining that. So that's part and parcel of our sustainable living. Yeah. And of course, we have our energy reset. We are setting goal that in the next 1 decade or two, we'll be moving towards all electrification and all that. Okay. So, and we have this idea about sanitation, clean water. You know, Singapore is a small island country again. We don't have natural resources. We don't have water, right? So water is a high agenda for sustainability in Singapore, actually. So besides buying water from Malaysia, our neighbor, we also have our desalination plants. Okay, the whole government approach is quite an interesting thing. Like I said, because Singapore is vulnerable, we don't have natural resources and all that. So each ministry will have to work together. There is no choice. Somebody made this statement regarding Singapore, okay, in contrast to the United States. The United States is like an aircraft carrier. Singapore is like a sampan. It's a Malay term for a canoe, a small canoe, okay? So unlike United States, an aircraft carrier, or any large country, okay, big ships, people can fight against each other, and then if you're not happy, you go to one corner of the ship and hide yourself, and you don't quarrel. But in Singapore, we are in a very small country. If we don't see each other, we fight, all that, right? We have to jump into the sea. So that's why there is this need for a whole government approach. So of course, other countries can learn from it too. But the psyche of Singapore is we have no choice not to waste time in politics so much. That's why if you look at Singapore, the PAP, you know, has always, the People Action Party has been the first, and until today, they're still the ruling party of Singapore. Why? Because we're still vulnerable, and they've been doing a good job. They have to do a good job, right? In terms of being efficient, to sustain Singapore itself. The last fourth frame is data tracking, whereby we make good use of data, okay, which I think every country would do. Okay, this is just a summary of the key SDG initiatives covering from 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 9, 11, 12, 13 to 17. Just a quick look itself. Good health and well-being, quality education, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy. So all these are important to us. Even climate change is affecting us because Singapore is an island state. We're even experimenting with some part of Singapore whereby, okay, we're going to build a wall, and what happened, you know, seawater level rises and all that. So we need to look ahead, far ahead also. Singapore is, like I said, we are vulnerable, we're small, but yet it makes us nimble, and we have no choice but to think long term, and what are our short term. So I'm already highlighting the importance of leadership already, just by the few slides that I have presented. Leadership matters. From the first, the first Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, right? He already envisioned Singapore as a metropolis, actually, when Singapore became independent, or rather separated from Malaysia. So leadership matters. Okay, let's move on to education for sustainable development. So if you look at, let me go back here, quality education comes second. It is still important since day one of Singapore establishment in 1965, right? I still remember if Mr. Lee Kuan Yew gave a talk to the school principals, and I still remember in his writing, right? He said this: the homes cannot do much. It's a very interesting statement made by our first Prime Minister. The home cannot do much, because we are basically immigrants, and we are considered a not developed country at that time. And so if home cannot make the difference in terms of sustaining the country, the second would be the schools. So in his talk to the principal, he said that schools make the difference, actually. And the school principal make the difference in schools. Okay, so again, leadership matters. So education for sustainable development. I know some of you are. These four areas are not alien to you. They are. It's not new to you. Okay, it's about knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes. So, for example, knowledge, the interconnectedness of social, economic, and environmental issues that we need to help our students with. Skills, developing critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skills. They need to be able to solve problems, because if you look at, the world is getting more complex, right? Right now, we're living more than a VUCA war, if I may want to call it, more than a VUCA war. If you have Trump 2.0 comes in, and then you look at geopolitics and all that, indeed, we need to have critical thinking, problem solving, and decision-making skill. Do you know that decision-making skill is part and parcel of a leadership competency? All right? It's part and parcel of a leadership competency. Leaders make decisions based on sound judgment in order to solve problems. Okay? Right. And that's why you look at the 21st century competencies. Critical thinking is part and parcel of it. Of course, creative thinking is also part of it too. I'm just sharing the bare bones of it, okay? And values. So besides just thinking ability, we need to foster a sense of responsibility, empathy, respect for the environment and future generation. So the value bit comes in. The last one is attitudes. Some people may call it dispositions, okay? But I'm not going to go into that psychological distinctions or debate into this right now. But I got a colleague who believes that we shouldn't be just thinking about attitude. We should think about habits, actually. Habits means that when we develop habits of the minds, or even habits of practice, we no longer have to, it becomes automatic, you know. You don't have to think, oh, I need to think critically. Oh, I need to value my environment. No, it becomes part and parcel of the habit, okay? So what I'm implying here is that leaders in school should not just teach this, but provide the learning experience that is important for sustainable development, and also the habits of it, so that they naturally do that, you know. For example, we are learning a bit of Japan. I don't know whether Dr. Saito is still around. Japan is a very good way of creating habits or values, like certain days, certain groups, children clean the floor, clean this playground, or clean this garden and all that. So become Values in action. Our former education minister talked about values in action. That itself speaks of the idea of habits. Okay, let's move on to leadership in education, right? As we know, what has been established is that teachers make the difference in schools, and schools make the difference in the learning outcomes of the future citizens of the nations, right? So educators make that difference. In fact, it is said in the past that the quality of education cannot be above than the quality of the teachers, right? So the teachers set the benchmark. If this is the quality of the teachers, this is the highest possible quality of education and the students, right? It cannot be higher than that. So the teachers make the difference. However, in terms of school curriculum, right? However, leadership makes a difference in the quality of school organization. So if you look at education itself, you must look at the school. If you go to McDonald's, you cannot just focus on the person serving you the Happy Meal. You must look at McDonald's as an organization that makes the difference to the quality service that they give. So likewise in school, the teacher is the service provider, in a sense, the point of contact to the customer, if I want to use a business term here. But the organization is the one that makes the difference, which is leaders makes the difference in terms of school organization, like human, physical, financial resources and all that. So to support sustainable development goals in schools, it is important, right? Okay, let's move on. Okay, in my view, right, there are 7 leadership models for sustainable development goals, right? Let me read off. The first one is instructional leadership. Some people call it curriculum leadership, but I prefer to call instructional leadership because it has been around since 1980s by Philip Hellinger and his colleagues in the US. Curriculum leadership, in my means, it is not fully well established yet because it has very huge similarity to instructional leadership. And the next one is distributed leadership. The third, transformational leadership. The fourth, strategic. Fifth, system. Sixth, ethical, as our first speaker has mentioned. Seventh, authentic leadership. I'll go into a bit more detail into this right now. Okay, instructional leadership has to do with simply leaders' action and practices that impact classroom teaching and learning. And the impact or the effect can be direct or indirect. Effect means if I'm a school principal, if it's direct impact on the classroom teaching, I'll be like doing some like classroom observation, sitting in the classroom. Indirect would be something like I'll be providing professional development funding for my teachers. And this funding will help them attend workshops or courses that develop their teaching, and then from there they'll be more ready to teach in the classroom, and then they will translate their learning into the classroom, teaching and learning, and then the student will benefit. So it's very indirect. Even developing school culture, nurturing positive school culture is also indirect. Most of the times, I mean, research have shown that most school principals' work is really more direct than indirect, unless your school is very small, like some rural school and there's only 5 teachers and you are one of the teachers. Okay, so that's direct. And the other thing about instructional leadership, my view is that everything that a school leader does is instructional leadership. It may not be the school principal, even the school guard, at the gate, saying hello to the student and welcoming them to school. It's already a kind of indirect school leadership effect, because the principal hired the school guard say hello to the students feel happy coming to school. So it affects their learning. Okay, so anything, this is my view, okay, anything that school leaders do in school and that takes place in school is born from the school leader. That's why I said leaders matters. Okay, so traditionally, when you look at instructional leadership, it's always been categorized in 3. The setting vision and direction and objective, managing the curriculum, which is the bread and butter of education business, And the last one is positive school climate. It's different from school culture. Yeah? School climate means just the overall environment. It's literally everything, the way I looked at it. Okay, but what is important here, that a question that I have is always, must a school principal is an administrator, right? But must a school principal be also grounded in content and pedagogy, which is, we call it delivery, right? And my answer is yes. But of course, a principal cannot be good in everything, right? But at least broadly, you must be familiar with something. If you want your school to be, if we want school leaders to be good in leading technology transformations, I mean, that person cannot just be an administrator, right? That person must know something about computers, something about Wi-Fi, something about now AI, Gen AI, something about inferencing and that sort of thing, right? Especially now. So you need to be a bit more familiar with the content. And of course, the types of delivery, the different types of pedagogy. I've always convey this to my students, whether they are leaders or teachers, right? Going to be teachers. A teacher must always have the breadth of knowledge in terms of the content, in terms of the pedagogy and the depth of pedagogy too. Not in all of them. Breadth of pedagogy could be, I can lecture, I can do group work, I know how to do peer tutoring, I know what is authentic learning, I know how to field work and all that. But broadly speaking, all of them, but I must be good at one or two of the pedagogy. Likewise for the instructional leader. Okay, next one is distributed leader. The idea of distributed leadership is that there's no longer such thing as the only solo leader in school. Okay, because the work has been there's too much work to be done, and leadership need to be dispersed. So other people need to be empowered to take on leadership roles. For example, vice principals, middle managers, even teacher leaders. Teacher leaders are just teachers, but they lead other teachers to help them develop their content, to develop their pedagogical skills also. So in my view, distributed leadership involves empowerment, empowering others, helping people to come together in terms of collective action and decision, and then shared decision making, and develop other leaders. So if you are school leaders need to develop. If you are a leader, you need to develop other leaders. In terms of the current situation, so that leadership is more dispersed, and then it's also sustainability, also in terms of succession planning. Who's going to take over you? If I'm a school principal, who's going to take over me? I got my vice principal. I need to groom this person to be a principal one day. If I look at my middle managers, I need to develop them further. Some of them will be school principal. So this is part of sustainability in that regard. Okay, so the first one is to do with instructional leadership, the content. So when you look at sustainability, sustainable development, the school leader needs to know, a school principal needs to know what is sustainable development, the content of it, the discipline of sustainable development. And of course, then you need to develop and how to lead them, how to lead organizations in schools, school organizations to develop a curriculum that will help students, foster or develop this sustainable development values, knowledge, values, and dispositions, right? So we need to develop other leaders in schools, organization. The third one is transformational leadership. Okay, so we have settled with the content and the delivery and how develop other leaders and all that. But at the same time, we also need to motivate. So transformational leadership has to do with motivating the inner motivation of the teachers to do what they need to do, to develop the school curriculum that is fitting, that would sustain, sustainable development goals. And these are the few: individualized influence, inspirational motivation, like setting vision, role modeling, intellectual stimulation, giving people ideas. When you give people ideas, people get motivated with your ideas. Individualized consideration is care and support. So in this current world of the VUCA Barney world, now we have VUCA Barney, right? Volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguity, but Barney meaning brittle, inches, you know. So wall, right? So we need leaders who are more caring. In fact, it's very common now for interviews, right? When people ask you, let's have an interview, you want to work at my place, any question? The first question they ask is there flexible work arrangement? Can I work from home and work in space? So the need for care for people. Strategic leadership is the other thing that's needed in order to, basically what it means is I have a vision for sustainable development goals. I need to scan the environment around me. What are the resources in my organization? What are the resources outside my organization? And how can I use them as leverage, okay, to promote sustainable development in my goals. The other system leadership is how is leaders making connections with other organizations outside school. We know that schools resources is not enough, really. It's no longer enough. And we do need other ministries and other organizations. The last one, second last one is ethical leadership, the importance of values. Thinking is no longer, critical thinking is no longer sufficient. We need leaders who are grounded in moral integrity, fairness, justice, role model them, and think about the collective good. Of course, nowadays, in a more disruptive world, ethical decision-making becomes more important. The last one is authentic leadership. Basically, if I were to summarize it, it's about being true to oneself. Leaders need to lead from the inside out. It's now a growing common popular phrase now. You are self-aware, you're aware of yourself, you have an internal moral compass, you know how to balance your view with other people's view, and you are transparent and open and humble. You know, continual learning and listening from others. In fact, Stephen Lagarde was asked, Lagarde was not Stephen Lagarde, Lagarde was asked, the ECB, you know, chief, right, was asked, what have you learned as a leader? So many years. And her answer was, listen. The higher I go, the more listening I need to do. Okay, so let me summarize now, just to put everything in gist. In the education context, number one, communicate clear and compelling vision for the school relating to SDG, and think about the strategies. Second, sustain wider participation in decision-making, not just yourself, but involve other people to participate. Nurture a school culture through the use of language, routines, policies, and physical spaces. Fourth, identify resources inside and outside schools. Because like I said, school resources is no longer enough. You need to have interagency, interministry work. Collaborate within and even in the region. Inspire by role modeling. Your actions speak louder than words. Last one, design a coherent, comprehensive, and continual teacher professional learning program. It's highly loaded. You need for you to digest a bit more. Coherent, meaning everything is interlinked. My PD is linked with the strategies. My PD is linked to finances. My PD is linked to the resources. My link is linked to career, to appraisal. Comprehensive, meaning that it's not just one-off. Everything is comprehensive. Last one is continual. It cannot be one-off development of teacher. Last one, develop competencies in leading sustainable development at the start. Okay, so developing leaders is important. Okay, so this is my last slide. The goal is really, in my view, every teacher is a leader for sustainable development. Leadership cannot rest on the shoulders of just the school principal or even the middle management, but with every teacher. If every teacher is a leader in sustainable development, I think we will make it there, right? There I say my thank you, and thank you for your attention, and I would open up for discussion or question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor. And it seems leadership in educational sectors is super crucial things, right? And so I invite all participants to engage with the keynote speaker. Do you have any question, ladies and gentlemen? kindly you can raise your hand to directly ask your question to the professor, or you can leave your question by typing in chat box. In this session, we have just one question, right? Or maybe, may I give you question, Professor?
Yes, please.
All right. So, you mentioned about the many kinds of leadership types, and what are the biggest challenges faced by school leaders or educational institution in achieving SDG 4, Professor?
Okay, in a school context, I think the main challenge is, one of the main challenges is time, okay? As you know, schools has become such an important location, sites for the preparation of future citizens. And so there's a lot of things. Basically, it's overcrowded curriculum. A lot of things are putting it into the curriculum, and the Ministry of Education has to think about, okay, what is there to take out? What is there to cut down? So in my view, that's one of the challenge for schools. It's an overcrowded curriculum, but I believe we are continually continuing trying to tweak our curriculum in order to make it work for us better. The other thing to do is, the other challenge is working with parents. We realize that, like I said earlier on, school have only so much of these resources. We also depend on school, on parents to make this work for us. So if you think about school sustainable development goals, we also need to think about not just educating students, but also educating parents. I mean, education is such a unique profession, right? When you go and see a doctor, you go there yourself. When you go to see a dentist, you go there yourself. And when you go to a lawyer to get their services, you go there yourself. But children cannot do that. Children must always be accompanied by their parents, because basically they're not adults, right? But it's not only that. So it's like seeing a doctor seeing the child with the parents, but in a school situation is seeing the child with many, many children, like 40 in a classroom, or 30 in a classroom, or even 50 in a classroom, together with the parents, involved. So we are in a process, we're actively working with how can we communicate and collaborate with parents better, in order to optimize the learning outcomes of our students. To me, that would be the two main moving forward, two main, I wouldn't say challenges, but areas that we need to work towards.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. And
You're welcome.
okay, and now
There's a question. Someone left a question. Can I read it off?
Okay. Okay, the question is coming from our participants.
Danang, it's by Danang Arianto. In your view, which specific leadership practice have the most significant direct impact on improving classroom teaching and learning outcomes?
Okay, thank you very much.
Wow, that's a very tough question, because you're singling out one, right? Okay, my answer is not. I'm not going to pick one actually, but rather my response would be, leadership functions best in its context. Okay, context is king. So if you are a school leader in school A, where the need is professional development of teachers, then transformational leadership might work better together with instructional leadership. If you're in school B, whereby the school is very, 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 very good, meaning it's good in achievement, school achievement, outcomes, all that, right? And they only focus on that only. Then I think I need to change the school, right? In terms of, let's focus on values. Then I think I need to be transformational leader. I don't need to be instructional leader so much. I won't focus that. Not that I don't need it. I need that, but I don't focus on that. I will focus on transformational leaders, and also with authentic leadership, because I need to convince them. And authenticity is important now nowadays for that. And that's so my answer is not one particular one, but my answer is it's dependent on context. Thank you.
I would like to thank to Dr. Hairon for your question and also your answer, Professor Hairon. Okay, and now I would like to extend my deepest appreciation, and as a token of our appreciation, we would like to present an e-certificate of recognition. Here you are, Professor. Thank you very much. All right, and see you in the next occasion, Professor. Thank you very much for your insightful discussion today. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we are moving forward to our second distinguished keynote speaker. He is coming from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. He is Professor Dr. Engineering Asep Bayudani Nandianto. He was born in Bandung 19 September 1983. He is one of the world's leading experts in particle technology and nanomaterials. He appears on the list of the world's most influential scientists and is prolific in research, publication, and innovation in nanotechnology-based tools. He completed his master's and doctoral degrees at Hiroshima University, Japan, and after previously completing his master degree, completing his studies at the Bandung Institute of Technology. In addition to his scientific contribution, he is actively involved in mentoring students and leading the reputable scientific journal in several institutions. All right, today he will share his perspective on harnessing biomass waste, particle technology in sustainable product development. All right, Professor Asep, your time is 30 minutes, and now the screen is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for the committee, and then thank you very much for your coming to here to participate in this conference. I am Asep Bayudani Nandianto. I would like to explain about sharing about harnessing biomass waste, particle technology in sustainable product development. So this is my curriculum vitae. So I have been working with several university institutions and in the abroad in several university. I mean, several countries, including, for example, Indonesia. And I also graduate from Japan for the master and PhD. And also I did several works in, for example, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Japan, United States, Malaysia, Uzbekistan, India, and so on. So I am very happy to be here to make a presentation in here. I would like to explain a little bit about my achievement, about several achievements that I have got. So I have been in the 2% top best scientists in the world for from 2021 to until now. Very good, alhamdulillah. And then I'm also editor-in-chief in several journals, including one of the best journal in Indonesia, including IJOS, and then ASE, ASEAN Journal of Science and Engineering, ASEAN Journal of Science and Technology, and also I'm editor-in-chief in ASEAN Journal of Science and Engineering in Material. So for the introduction, I would like to explain a little bit about biomass. The term of biomass refers to organic materials made from plants and animal waste, for example, also from the microorganism. So when it is burned, the chemical energy in biomass is released as a heat. So there's a four facts about biomass itself. So one is the versatile, one is the other is potential waste and economic impact and abundant. So the role of particle technology is it biomass. Biomass in with the technology, particle technology, we can change using, for example, mechanical treatment, carbonization, pyrolysis, gasification, and chemical treatment. So, and then we can change, I mean, we can design the the material from the biomass by optimizing them to by structure, size, surface structure, functionality, and shape. And also for the result, we can control the productivity, mechanical pathway, surface modification of some new trend and future prospect. So for the brief of the various processing, so there are combustion, for example, so gasification, carbonization, and then also hydropyrolysis, and then slow and fast pyrolysis, and then liquefaction. So now, so the importance of biomass conversion is the reduce of the environmental impact. So, for example, we can reduce the greenhouse effect mitigation, waste management, circular economy promotion. And so the importance of biomass conversion also convert biomass into valuable product, for example, bioethanol, biogas, and solid fuel. Also, we can change the biomass in like a biochemical material and polymers, and then also nutrition product. So now, how to improve and then the enhance the process efficiencies? We can change the particle size control. So it means the particle size control. It means that we can change the surface of surface area optimization, diffusion energy, and ability to enter small space. So we can control the biomass waste. So we can change to the some millimeter, micrometer, and even to nanometer if possible. But perhaps in our idea, in our experience, it can be controlled. I think the best is in the micrometer or sub-micrometer. Okay, and then the important biomass conversion is the convert biomass into valuable product. For example, we did several studies in our studies, agriculture waste, and then we can milling into the powder particle, and we put the binder, and then we pack, heat. We can get a brake pad, and then pack, heat, carbonization, we can get a briquette, and then pack, heat, cementization, we can get concrete also. We can also pack and heat, we can produce also, the other one is to change into bioplastic. So for example, current study, we utilize the water hyacinth. So water hyacinth by changing the the concept of particle technology, you can the use of the particle technology, we can get, for example, for wastewater treatment, phytoremediation, bioplastic, automatic brake pad, animal feed, fertilizer, and then bioenergy. And then for bioplastic also possible. So the polymer C are a source, and then carbohydrate, it is we can mix, and then with the water hyacinth, and we can heat and pack, we can get some bioplastic. And also the water hyacinth, we can change, we can convert, for example, we can get the silica and carbon material. So for the agriculture waste, like water hyacinth, we can burn, and then we can, after treatment, we can get porous carbon particles. And also at the same time, when we get the composite after the alkali treatment, we can get silk oxide. Silk oxide we can reproduce drying, we can get silica particles. So thank you very much for your attention. Let's take action now to protect our planet and build a sustainable future. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Asep, for your illuminating talk on how the importance of biomass conversion to reduce environmental impact. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for a further Q&A session in this session, with the second speaker, kindly send your question to this email address, which is displayed on your screen. You can choose one of them. All right. Okay, thank you very much. And this is the end of this session. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank to all of the participants here. And as we conclude this plenary session, allow me to thank once again to our distinguished speaker, Associate Professor Hairon Saleh, for bringing the materials about leadership in educational sectors to accelerate SDGs, and also Professor Dr. Asep Bayudani Nandianto for inspiring us with biomass waste to reduce environmental impact. Okay, may their insight inspire us to bridge research policy, and community action as we work together toward the 2030 agenda. Thank you all for your attention, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And the screen will be returned to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you for the very insightful discussion, and also thank you to Ms. Jessica for moderating the second session. Before moving on to the next session, I'd like to kindly remind everyone that the attendance list will be provided at the end of the keynote session. So please complete this list so that you can get your e-certificate. Now, for the third keynote session, we will have Professor Osman Gultekin, UNESCO Chair on Cultural Diplomacy, Governance and Education, and also professor at the Istanbul Aydin University, Turkey. To ensure that this session flows smoothly and effectively, I'm honored to introduce our moderator, Ms. Jauhar Wahyuni, who will be guiding us through this exciting discussion. Ms. Jauhar, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, fellow researchers, and colleagues from around the world. And especially, I want to greet our amazing speaker for the last session today. Hello, Professor Osman. Are you already here? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hello, Professor Osman.
Can you hear me well?
Good afternoon from Indonesia. Thank you for joining us today at State University of Surabaya, Indonesia, and welcome to the third plenary session of ICASB 2025, the International Conference of SDGs and Bibliometric Studies. I am honored to serve you as your moderator today. My name is Jauhar Wahyuni, and I am delighted to guide you through this important session with the theme Sustainable Development Goals in Action, Bridging Policy, Research, and Community Engagement in Achieving the 2030 Agenda. In this session, we will draw inspiration from our remarkable scholars whose work reflects the synergy, academic excellence, policy impact, and real-world community empowerment. Now let me give you a brief introduction to our final speaker today, Professor Osman Gültekin from Istanbul Aydin University, Turkey. Currently, Professor Osman Gültekin is UNESCO Chair on Cultural Diplomacy, Governance and Education. He is a faculty member at Political Science and International Relations, Istanbul Aydin University. Previously, he managed the International Academic Relations as coordinator at Istanbul Aydin University. He has more than 15 years of experience and advocacy in international education and youth educational travel. He dealt with more than 10,000 students, study abroad program consultancy, and he has been going around more than 40 countries, including North America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. He was a president at Portofino Alumni Association and previously served as Turkish International Educational Counselor and Agencies Association. He holds his PhD studies in political science and international relations discipline with international educational focus. And he finished his postdoc at Department of Political Science at Carleton University. He has 3 years of practical work in Bahashir University Center for Security Studies. His scholarly work on international relation theories, including realism, world order, constructivism, and critical theories. And today he will give us an insightful presentation. So Professor Osman, you may deliver your presentation for around 30 minutes. And now the time is yours.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction, and Selamun Aleyküm to all. And is my presentation visible to everyone? I think it's working well. Okay.
Okay, your presentation, apologies, your presentation, yes, it's visible, but...
Yeah, thank you very much. So in this presentation, I would like to talk to you about the role of education in building sustainable peace among the countries, and how is it possible, and actually what direction it is going, if there are any challenges that we need to be aware and we need to fix. So the research starts with like the historical patterns for international student mobility. Actually, it is not a new thing. It starts from the ancient Greece times, like traveling scholars going like different states, cities, and they were disseminating like knowledge to other areas. So it was there all throughout the history. And also, I looked at how the national governments are evolving in this international education practices, and how are they affecting this.
Excuse me, Professor Osman, your face is not appear on the screen. It's just your presentation. Could you slideshow your presentation first? So sorry for the inconvenience.
Is it visible now?
Okay, it's totally fine right now. Thank you. You may continue.
Okay, thank you very much. So the national government's involvement in international education, and I research on what is the relation between international politics and international education, and try to put it in theory. So basically, the academic mobility started from long time ago, since ancient Greece, and it has been always a reflection of global power dynamics in the world about the direction of the mobilities. Most of the time, it has been from the powerful countries were magnets for receiving the international students, and it had started to be part of also foreign policy making, or or diplomacy efforts of the countries especially in the 20th century. And normally, why I'm researching on the intersection of international relations and international education, because it starts from a need. Basically, when we study education, most of the time there are three main areas or approaches to study education. It starts from philosophical, so you kind of what's the aim of education, what is going to bring about to people, and you focus on that, the philosophical basis of international education. Or you might approach international education as pedagogical. If you have people from different backgrounds in your classroom setting, then how are you going to approach them, right? You cannot use your traditional method. Maybe they are coming from different cultures. You need to address, you would need to give different examples in classroom settings. So there can be a pedagogical aspect to it too. And also you can approach international education from comparative perspective too. And so basically, you can compare the systems, or you can if you have good examples that were successful in one content, context, then you can like basically borrow it in another context, assuming that it is going to be successful in the other context too. But here, because the national governments highly involved in international education, what we are claiming is that there should be political science and international aspect to be added to international education studies. And indeed, education is highly related to politics. It has some domestic implications, such as national education, especially like before higher education, K-12 education, for example, is very essential in modernization of the countries. And it helps the students to be more participant in the political processes too, going from parochial or submissive political culture to participant one, which is more democratic. So basically, you develop your you endow skills to your students. Then you are increasing your human capital. Then in the universities, you are doing a lot of research and development activities. So it is helping, for you to have more efficient products, and together increasing productivity of labor and increasing productivity of capital. Basically, you are able to produce more. So it is going to be helping to your economic growth. And also, as literacy rate increases, then you expect that through the modernization, there is going to be democratization. And together, they are the economic growth and development, then they are forming economic growth and democratization. They are forming, of course, development. And we have now sustainable development goals. So all the countries are working towards those goals. Then we can have development all over the world in that sense. So, but the key catalyst here, key aspect in that development is always education, quality education, of course. And also, education is important in multi-ethnic settings too, because you need to be catering to the needs of people in classroom setting, and those people can be from various backgrounds. So in that case, to increase the integration in the classroom settings and make people coming from totally different backgrounds to work towards common goal, then you need to have some specific pedagogies. And your pedagogy should include intercultural competence development. Actually, it is the key for national level of education, and also it is key to sustain peace, to work towards sustainable peace in higher education setting too. The students are coming to universities from different countries, and the local should be welcoming them. Also, local students should have that intercultural competence development skills to interact with the visiting international students in a meaningful way. So this is how you can achieve harmony. That is to say, peace in the universities. Otherwise, they live together, but they don't interact. Then without any social interaction, if the school is for 4 years, a bachelor degree, then they go back to their countries without having any local interaction. So the universities should be facilitating that, at least providing students to give that platform that they can easily interact with each other. It is mostly the case, in Turkish case too. Turkey has now more than 350,000 international students. They are coming from the rest of the world. And now the universities are having some challenges to integrate those international students to local and having that meaningful interaction. That was actually its also attracted our attention to work on that, like how we can solve that issue, because in international education, the host countries are assuming the students that they are hosting from outside, they are going to be their sympathizers of their culture and work towards their public diplomacy goals. But the condition is they need to be satisfied in their education, experience in the host countries. Otherwise, the things are not going in the direction that is desired. So normally, when we look at the international education definition by UNESCO, they say that standardized national education working towards mutual international understanding, cooperation, and peace. So this is the very normative definition and attributing some high missions to education. But it is referring mostly national education levels. But they are assuming again education in the national level will automatically help international understanding and peace, and it is going to help for global peace promotion. But it may not be the case always. The content, the curriculum should be also supporting. And I would like to present here a framework on how education can help countries to be more powerful. Most of the time, education is associated with the term of soft power, and but it is very ambiguous that is it because we have soft power attraction that we attract students from outside, or after you host students, if they are going to be helping to solidify your soft power influence. So this is always like an egg or hen question, which is coming first. So here we try to make it more simplified version, and basically power is function of education, and here we have national education level and international education. So basically national education works as the generator of power of a country, because in order to reach development, you are going to have economic growth and democratization, so you can be powerful. After you have some power capabilities, you can show it to the rest of the world through international educational exchanges. So national education level, it works as a generator, producer of power, specifically soft power, and through international educations, you are able to disseminate that or enhance that, or have that effect on the other foreign audiences. So this is basically the simple formalization of the relation between soft power and education. Also, it is an entrance point to show the relation between international relations and international education. And here we say okay, in the domestic level, international education has political implications as the producer of power within the countries. And because education has an automatic or natural international dimension, it affects go to other, crossing borders to other, other states too. And inclusion of students from different ethnicities makes education directly actually part of the international education framework. So international education then affects this states of soft power as disseminator, enhancer, and multiplier when you consider the international education exchanges between the countries. And international education has a very important place in in foreign policy making of the countries through most of the time through public diplomacy efforts. So when we say public diplomacy, you can consider like any government-sponsored activities that are targeting foreign audiences in other countries. Why are they important? It is very important indeed. Like the countries are working in the country brands, on their country brands, right? Why? Because, you know, imagine that there are people living in other countries. They are foreign citizens in other countries. And if your country has a good image, they would like to come and visit you. Or the students would like to study in your country. It all depends, because they don't have any first-hand experience. They are seeing it from maybe TV, maybe from news, but they have some sort of, maybe they have like, you know, the affinity in religion or culture, but they are seeing it like from outside. Although they have never been in the other country, because of the soft power image, they are willing to invest some amount of like funds to go to other countries, maybe for touristic purposes or educational purposes. And for like the students, international students, maybe at a very important age in their life, they are making that big decision with their families and they are investing. So soft power image is that important, like, you know, because you are being mobilized. You know, this is it is related to the definition of power. You know, the influence towards the things that you would normally don't do. But that influence makes you move. That influence makes you mobilize. In the case of soft power, international students, for example, they are being mobilized under the influence of soft power and going to other countries and investing, you know, funds maybe from their families or from themselves. So discovering that the country's image are very important in this educational exchanges or like touristic exchanges, the countries start to make like more planned efforts in their image making. And those image making can be considered under public diplomacy of the countries. And when we look at the evolution of public diplomacy, first it was like, you know, the countries, their representative people, they were just informing the public. Like they were like telling like what they think on some issues, what their explanations can be, etc. But now we are seeing it's like more interactive. Like now through social media, they are sharing some fun facts, right? About the countries, about their culture. So they try to engage the foreign audiences. And international education is being one of them. And when we look at the typical taxonomy of public diplomacy, we see that like, you know, advocacy, you know, if you are advocating like some important subjects in world matters, then you can like, you know, gain like more positive attraction from the other countries, other foreign people. And cultural diplomacy, it's not only education, but also your cultural products such as like music, cinema can be influential in other contexts, in other countries. And also they start to invest in like international news broadcasting, like all the major countries that they have their own like international news broadcasting to reflect their way of thinking and their stance on the world matters. So they are investing in those heavily for their image and reputation building. And also for example, they are investing heavily on the mega events, right? The football or sports championships, world championships are all for those matters. Because the politics, international politics, turn into image competition. And for this, actually, the countries are again, I would like to say it, investing heavily. And as you may know, France has this Francophonie, schools. British Council is working towards that aim. Italian Culture Institute, United States Fulbright scholarships, and also during Cold War years too, Soviet Republic was using the same methods. And what is educational exchange diplomacy? It is specifically related to that sub-branch of public diplomacy. And, you receive students from outside, and they are going to sympathize for your country, and they are going to be helping the, country image globally in other contexts too. And also, the students that you are sending abroad, you are thinking that they are going to be ambassadors of your culture too. So in that case, the countries are thinking that, they are going to be winning. With the students that they are sending abroad, they are going to be, representing their culture. And also the students that they are hosting, they are going to be also, exposed to their culture, and they are going to be good ambassadors of their country. But sometimes we have the case that we send students abroad, and they may like it better there and stay there. Then this is what it is called brain drain. So you would be losing the most bright or brilliant brains of your country. And also, lately, and in our research too, we recognize that the satisfaction of international students from their education and life experience in the hosting countries, it is very important too. Because the local governments are thinking when they host students, they are going to be automatically the cultural ambassadors of their country. But if they don't have good experience when they return, they are not going to tell nice things about the host country. They are going to say maybe I was there for 4 years, but I didn't have a good experience. Then, a happy person will tell their experience to one person, but, unhappy student will be disseminating that to, to more people. So this is not going to be very helping, maybe the country image making of the countries. They need to be sure that the students are having good time in their country. And we have the example of for example, Said Kutub from Egypt, and he was an exchange student in Arizona in the United States, and he experienced that, and he saw the incompatibility of American values with Islamic values. That it was, of course, in his thinking. When he returned back to his country, and he started to or influence the movement that has some anti-US policies. So it shows the educational exchanges, the existence of it does not guarantee that it is going to be working towards the foreign policy aims of the hosting countries. So the condition here is that the students should have good experience in the host country. And now we see some trends in international education and related to, of course, international relations too, and discovering the importance of the diplomatic influence of the international education exchanges, the countries seem to be like competing or having a race to have like more international students. Basically, they are competing like for more soft power influence. And also, we are seeing that especially after 9/11 and Islamophobia in Western destinations, now we see like some regional hub countries. Sometimes they are like sponsored by national governments. Sometimes they are emerging as naturally. So we see a regionalization trend in that sense, and it is different than the traditional Western destinations. Now we have like new, countries that are emerging as hubs of international education. And lastly, all the universities, they start to like talk about like with the influence of rankings too, about internationalization. So internationalization has become a very hot topic for all higher education institutions and also for national governments too. So these are like three recent trends that we can talk about. And also I would like to go briefly about like, as we started to like look at the, current situation about the intersection of international relations with international education. Actually, it has been there like throughout the history. It's not because it's now intense, so obvious that national governments are involving in education exchanges as a way of like in their, in their foreign policy making. But although unorganized throughout the history, like we can call it like archaic internationalization in ancient Greece and Rome. So the people, were traveling to other states and they were exchanging knowledge in those contexts, right? So that was part of the internationalization efforts, although in very early times. And then we see Islamic internationalization. Baghdad becomes a center of learning, and all the other scholars from the rest of the world were, moving to Baghdad to get, knowledge, education. And in the 13th and 14th century in Europe, we see medieval internationalization. And in the 15th and 17th, again, like Christian universities, becomes popular. And colonial era education, again, their system, university systems, has been transferred to, colonized territories. And then in the first half of the 20th century, and of course, like the World War I and other like effects, so very unorganized because there was no visa regimes at that time. If you have the capacities, like conditions, you would go to other country easily. So traditional, unorganized level of internationalization. But after World War II, the countries see the importance of it. And then they started to have that, to use education, international education in the, in the development projects that they are doing in other countries. In 1970s, we see like, then discovery of international education for policy making, then offering scholarship programs, especially from South, to have the brilliant minds from those regions. And 1980s influence of neoliberal paradigm and massification of education, but at the same time, like, they start to be charging for education, rise of private education institutions. And of course, after that, we see like the commercialization of education. Actually, with the commercialization of education, because there are now people in educational business, in that sense, for their profit-driven motivation, they start to actually like promote international education more. So it helped in the increase in the number of mobilities. And then in 2010, we had the complex competitive internationalization, then introduction of rankings, like more competition, and financialization of the education institutions, like some sort of like oligopolies, like in education too. And now in 2010s, we witnessed like the new regional hubs, like Turkey can be considered one of them, or South Korea, or Malaysia, or maybe Indonesia, and Qatar was investing in that, or like Saudi Arabia. And now we had like south to south. Traditionally, it was from south to north, but now we see like the south to south and regional hubs too. And 2020s, we are still in that period, and of course, with the effect of COVID, we are still, like testing like what direction it is going to go. And there is with the like wide usage of AI technologies, if the people can access to knowledge in the comfort of their home, then maybe there is going to be less need, less demand for traditional education. So digitalization and AI influence, we'll see like what direction it is going to go. And here, like the government's involvement in promoting their like national higher education overseas, it's a very interesting case. Actually, the governments are like helping their national education institutions in a very mercantilist way. Like they are like promoting and subsidizing their national higher education institutions to be more visible, or to have like more like higher places in global rankings. So it resembles a very interesting like mercantilist approach. Like the government are like going like hands in hand, like shoulder to shoulder with national higher education institutions, and so far the competition is there already. But if you see like like international education is very important in your public diplomacy efforts, then you can think of like how to get there, how to get have that influence like in a shortcut way. So basically, you might attract students with false hopes, and you are thinking that it happens in some countries, like you think that they are the subjects of your cultural propaganda. It may not be going like in the right direction most of the time. So it may not be helping to your efforts. So what is next? The question is important one. Is it going to go like like two-way? Like the countries are going to be making like contributing to each other in a collaborative way, or the countries will assume that it is only for one way. They are going to be gaining like all the time. So some scholars call it like it is going to be happening like in a like knowledge diplomacy way. So both sides are winning. So it is like it's not only the host country, but also we see that some countries are using them, like the numbers of students that they are hosting, as a like soft power manipulation, and they are thinking that those students can be like agents or like the subjects for their cultural propaganda. And in that case, we have to consider about the manipulation of soft power, and this is what we call as sharp power. Indeed, those countries, they like in soft power framework, you claim that the students are going to be like cultural ambassadors of the host country because the local culture is attractive to them. And the reason that they are moving out from their country because the attraction in the other countries. But here, the students are brought to that country, but they don't see any attraction. Like they don't, they are not happy, but the families force them to stay there. And because they made already a decision, they want to be a little like insisting in that decision to stay in that country. But 4 years, they are not happy like in the other country, but they stay there. So actually, it is like kind of like some enforcement to them, like pushing them to be in a position that indeed they don't want to be in, right? So there is that knowledge diplomacy framework will assume that it is going to help to have harmony between the nations, among the countries, and it is going to be like two-way interaction, and etc. So you are assuming that it is going to be like something that is contributing to peace. And ideally, what the education exchange is for, but we should be aware of the other limitations that can happen in those international education exchanges. And sharp power like framework can be one of them. So if we approach those students like very nation-centric, they have their own values, their culture. So they would not be very happy if you impose like cultural propaganda on them. So it may actually produce some counterintuitive outcomes on those students. And if they don't see like attraction in the way that you rule the country, like seeing it from outside is different, like being and living in the culture, right? So they are going to have that first-hand experience. So they are going to maybe see like a lot of shortcomings in that, context. And this is the definition of sharp power. Like if they go to like they are just imitating like a soft power, and the most of the time some countries are like criticized for that. China is having like a lot of like international students. Are they really contributing to their personal development, like intercultural competence? Maybe there are ways that they can improve it. Sometimes Russia is considered in that way. Why they are on the spot? Because they are among like top 10 international students receiving countries. They are receiving like 100,000 international students. And also like, like the countries are not democracy, but still receiving a lot of international students. They are also in the question of this sharp power content.
Excuse me, Professor, you have 5 more minutes. Thank you.
I'm wrapping up. So here, like some scholars would think that, knowledge diplomacy, yes, it is the original aim. What I want to try to say is here that, we should be also aware that, we need to make sure about the quality of the education that the students are getting, and also well-being of the students in the hosting countries. And it is going to determine how the nation image of host country is perceived in the eyes of visiting students. Here, like malicious forms influence on international students, unhappy experiences, political propaganda they are receiving, and sometimes some national governments are using international students for intelligence purposes. We should be aware of those too. So indeed, these are the intention is there like with international education exchanges, but we need to be aware of that part too, and make sure that it is going in its original track or genuine intention that we are aiming from international educational exchanges. So, and with the introduction of this actually potential threat, actually it can not to draw a pessimistic, portrait, but it can help us to, how to cope with that kind of malicious, side of those international educations. So that can help us to, design better, education experience for the students. And here, inclusivity and intercultural understanding is very important because, the students are coming from different backgrounds. The host countries, local countries, instead of imposing their culture on those students, all those individuals, they have their own cultures, their own beliefs and everything. So they should be respecting to it, and they should be enabling the exchange of the ideas. In that way, we can have, we can eliminate the prejudices or biases towards the other cultures, and we can have them to work towards common goal more efficiently. So I might receive questions if you have any.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Osman, for that insightful presentation highlighting the international education and also diplomacy. And let me give a little bit summary for your topic today, that you explain and emphasize the education as international phenomenon, and also you giving the perspective from UNESCO, and also evolving relation between education and politics, several approach in studying international education, and you also explain about trends about international education and the implication in the countries itself, such as economic growth and modernization, and also to give exchange diplomacy and foreign policy making. And you also highlight the historical background and international education from early centuries to the current era of 2000s. And the most highlighting topic for today, it's about the difference from educational soft power model and also sharp power. So thank you very much for Professor Osman once again. And now we're going to open the Q&A session for our speaker today. And if you have any question, ladies and gentlemen, kindly raise your hand on the screen, or you can type your question in the chat box and we will read it for you. And please mention your name and affiliation before asking the question. So is there any question on the chat box? Okay, we are still waiting for the question. Maybe all the participants have the interest in international education, especially as Professor Osman explained to us, and also the diplomacy and also the implication in international level. Okay, here's one of the question from the participant in the chat box. I will read it to you, Professor. So, how to make human capital flight beneficial for home countries? It's from Bapak Gama Harta from ITB. You may answer the question, Professor.
How to make human capital flight beneficial for home countries? Like human capital, you are assuming that you are going to be sending students abroad, so they can receive more competencies, especially international or intercultural competencies are very important. And you are assuming that they are going to be back. So if they are back, then they are going to be contributing to national development of their own countries. And some countries, they are making those programs and getting some assurances from the participating scholarship participants to when they are going to get education and they are going to be coming back, so they can be national government who is sending that student abroad would benefit it, and they are making it as mandatory work programs too. So in that case, they are trying to make sure that they are going to be benefiting from the human capital. But it is not guaranteeing you are sending your student. The thing is the going abroad to get international exposure is beneficial for everyone, because it is going to be challenging your the beliefs, or it is going to challenge you in many different ways, and it is going to help you as in your personal growth too, personal development too. But individuals as rational decision makers, they are going to be choosing from the options, whether home country or the other country. So your country needs to be attraction and providing more chances to them too.
Okay, thank you for answering the first question, Professor Osman. And now we're going to move to the next question. For the session, we just limited the question for 2 questions only. So the second one, Professor Osman, how important is it for the state to align their international educational program to the right to education? It's from Zeri Akbar from State University of Surabaya. You may answer the question, Professor.
So basically, now in the world, all students, all universities, they are accepting international students from other countries. It is good for state universities, for example. They would like to have more international campus environment. So that's why more multicultural campus environment. So that's why they would like to have more international students. So their motivation can be mostly academically, but the intentions of the sometimes national government for political influence or private institutions for income generation purposes, it can be different than this intention of the public institutions. So basically, having variety of choices, it's aligning with the right to education. You have different choices, you have public universities that you can go with paying less or none, and you have other choices that you can pay the tuition and attend the universities. So that was a debate also with the introduction of education as a tradable commodity in 2000s. Actually, it helped to increase the number of those international education activities. And in that sense, although there are some other issues related to privatization of education, it helped the number of education exchanges. So actually, it is in alignment with the right to education in that sense. We have a lot of criticisms, but it is the truth. It is the fact too.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Osman, for having a great discussion with us today. And in term of appreciation, right now we would like to give you a certificate, e-certificate, as your attendance and our main session of this conference. This certificate is appearing on the screen right now, and we're giving to you as a symbolism of your acceptance for the certificate.
I thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much once again. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude this plenary session, allow me to thank once again to our distinguished speaker, Professor Osman Gültekin from Istanbul Aydin University, for inspiring us with his topic today, highlighting the international education in policy foreign. May his insight enrich our understanding to bridge research, policy, and community action as we work together towards the 2030 agenda. Thank you all for your attention, and we would like to remind you once again to fill in the attendance as the committee share the link on the chat box so we can list your name and give you the certificate of participation by the end of the session. We're looking forward to see you all again on the next agenda of ICASB 2026. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. UNESA, one step forward. And now the screen return to Master of Ceremony, Miss Cecilia. Thank you.
Thank you for the thought-provoking discussion in the keynote sessions. I'm sure everyone is already getting even more excited for the parallel sessions. Let us now give ourselves a little break for lunch and prayer, and would also like to inform you that we have already provided you with an attendance list in the chat box. Please complete the list so that you can get your e-certificate. Following the break, we will begin the parallel sessions. The parallel sessions are broken into various topics such as earth and environmental science, engineering and technology, life sciences, and many more. Please take note of the room numbers assigned to each topic. These sessions will provide opportunities for deep discussions and idea exchanges. We will begin promptly at 1 p.m. and each presenter will have 10 minutes to present, followed by a Q&A session. Thank you so much and see you at 1 p.m.